Let me introduce my guests in the studio this morning as we begin our discussion. My guests in the studio, I've seen documents of his already in the studio, but he's not yet here in his seat. Abdul Malik Kwekubako, he is editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. He's not here. We have Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, the Honorable MP for North Tongue and ranking member, Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. Good morning and thank you for coming. This will be your first appearance this year on this show.
I should think so.
Yeah, I think so. Good to have you. Now,
good to be here.
I've got two new guests. They're very fresh faces on the show, but you would enjoy them. Joseph Dindiok Pemka. He is the Timpani, MP for Timpani and Deputy Attorney General Designate. Ignore the wrong spelling of his name in the list that came out earlier. The name is Dindiok, not any other way. He's a good friend, and I'm happy to have you in the studio this morning, sir.
Samson, thanks so much.
Great. Right, now, another good friend here is Belinda Kwamam. She's a private legal practitioner, and she teaches the law. She's a private legal practitioner and teaches the law at GIMPA, the Faculty of Law. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Samson.
Wow, I can imagine that it's going to be very exciting this morning. And the man of the documents will also be here shortly. His documents are already in here. Now let's go and take a listen to or watch this small clip of some incident that happened yesterday. And it happened here in Ghana, not in Iraq, here in Ghana. Now, watch it and we'll return to briefly look at the terror in London and what we seem to be ignoring we are facing here in Ghana. Right, you're welcome back. Now, for those of you who don't have the benefit of the television and so couldn't see the footage we just showed, those of you who are listening on radio and somehow listening on the internet, what you didn't see is something I shudder to describe. This is what happened in the Ashanti region yesterday. The regional security coordinator, we are told appointed by the president, had gone to take his office. And somehow there is a group, the group you saw there, that the police was trying to, push away, but didn't seem to be firm about it and allowed them to push this man to the floor in the manner they did. The group is said to be called the Delta Force, and they are alleged to belong to the NPP, or the NPP's invisible force, one of the wings. That's the allegation now. Their beef was that this man was not known to have done anything for the party, and that they have a leader whom they think is the one who is rightfully qualified to have been appointed for that office. So they went into that office and you saw them in their crowd, gathering a crowd along with them, shouting and singing Yenia Breko, meaning they are really serious and they are angry. So they went to his office, pulled him out, and you saw how they pushed him along the corridor, and it's a story building. So as they descended the stairs and the police tried to, help protect this man against harm, you saw how he was assaulted, pushed down, the way he fell. That was really very hurting. I don't know, they must have fathers. They would have seen that their father falls down, pushed down this way. I don't know how they'll feel. So that is what you saw. We were told that by the regional secretary of the party that they were going to have a meeting in the evening and that this was going to be an issue they were going to discuss. In fact, the guys had promised that they were going to leave the place, threatened. They were not going to leave the place until and unless their wish was done. Once again, this is happening right here in Ghana. This morning, the question to ask is, check if the police has arrested a single individual in connection with this. So, preliminary take. We're looking at this and we're looking at the London terror attacks, which has been condemned worldwide, including condemnation from the President of Ghana, His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So I start with you, Honorable Kujato Ablakwa. Somehow you hadn't seen this video. You are just seeing it.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it.
So what do you say?
Yeah, good morning, Samson. Good morning to everybody around the table, especially Uncle Kweku, who I haven't seen all year. Also, my brother, the Deputy Attorney General Designate, is my good friend in Parliament. And let me congratulate you, again for your appointment, and say good morning to all our dear listeners and viewers. And Samson, if you will permit me, I came here from a funeral of a former presidential staffer, Uncle Mike Obobi, who's been buried today. So I passed through the funeral at the State House to pay my last respects before I came in here. I want to extend condolences to his family, to the NDC party, and to former President Mahama, who he worked closely with. Having said that, Samson, certainly the footage you have showed us this morning is really troubling, and is yet another reminder that we have to disband these groups. We no longer can countenance the existence, the collusion, the explanations, the justifications. There can be no justification to keep these militia groups. Article 2102 of the 1992 Constitution is very, very clear. It says that no person shall raise an armed force except by or under the authority of an act of Parliament. So what we are seeing is in flagrant violation of our Constitution, where you have groups that are armed, that purport to be providing security. In Ghana, the Constitution provides for only the armed forces of Ghana. As Article 2101 says, there shall be the armed forces of Ghana, which shall consist of the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, and such other services for which provision is made by Parliament. So these groups all over the place, be they Delta Force, be they Invisible Forces, whatever they call themselves, they are not known to Parliament, they are not known by an act of Parliament, they are not known to the Constitution, and they should not be tolerated. It is important to also make the point that we need to see leadership. We need to see political leaders, and I'm not referring to only leaders within the New Patriotic Party, but leaders in all political parties must rise up against these groups. Okay. If you have read the history of Boko Haram, you will appreciate where I'm coming from. That they started as a political vigilante group, you know, encouraged by politicians, funded by politicians, and then things got out of control. And they are now a full-fledged terrorist organization. And we will soon be discussing terrorism.
The sad thing, though, is that you, the politicians, when we mention Invisible Force or Delta Force, or we mention Azoka Boys or whatever they are, you are quick to deny that they have the support of the party officially. But we know that they work for the party.
And that is why, Samson, I'm saying that if you look at what is happening in the world today, and you see how these groups, be they vigilante groups, political protection units, or whatever you want to call them, degenerate and easily get caught up, get radicalized, and they become terrorist groups. And all of us regret. We all become at risk. I think that I don't want to, you know, descend into partisanship. I want to look at this from a nationalistic point of view. How do we keep our country safe? How do we keep citizens safe? How do we ensure that the political space does not give room for the rise of such groups and such conduct? Only this week in Parliament, we had to file a question for the Interior Minister to finally respond this week on the circumstances leading to the brutal assault of ASP Nanka Bruce, again by a member of the Invisible Forces, right at the seat of government. And the Interior Minister could not tell us in Parliament who gave that group the clearance to enter a security zone, the seat of government, where our president,
you were not satisfied with his explanation, or that he could not tell you, because he told you that yes, it's a security installation. Nonetheless, people have access to the place. You come, you are checked in, and you go. So similar thing could have happened to this individual.
He told us that because it was the 9th of January, they were now setting up and all of that. But remember that the president had begun work, had announced his team. You even did a brilliant take on whether he should have announced his presidential staffers and all of that before the formation of the Council of State. We know he was at work. He was working from that premises. The president was exposed to danger. If we are told by the Interior Minister today that anybody could just, because it was the 9th of January, people could just have entered.
So let's keep these comments brief so that we can go to the other issues that we have actually.
So there are too many of, we'll soon get to the Kintampo Waterfalls, and we'll see the role the Invisible Forces played there as well.
Allegedly.
We know what, as a Foreign Affairs Committee member, I know what happened at the passport office earlier this year. I know what has happened at
Dapoha. Just hold it there for me now. Hold it there for me now. And let me come to the Honorable Minister Designate for, Deputy Minister Designate for Attorney General, Premka. I hope you don't mind that I call you Premka,
no,
because I'm used to that.
That's okay.
Now, the police in Kumasi tell us that this man who was attacked in the manner he was, George J, had been to their office to give his statement, and that he had gone to the hospital. He had been seen by doctors, and he was discharged, and he was said to have been unharmed. Nonetheless, you must be worried about this incident.
Well, I would say that first of all, thanks for the opportunity. Last night, I was privileged to watch the tape. I watched it at about 10 p.m. during the late news on some of the major networks in this country. And it's a very unfortunate event. It's a scar on our political history and etc. But what I can say for now is that full-scale investigations will be conducted into the matter, and all those who are found to be culpable will be dealt with according to the processes of law. You know, it is very important for us to situate it within a certain context. As you did indicate, history should be our guide in all matters like this, because sometimes the very little spark, if not handled, could boomerang into something else.
Right.
So the expectation is that such unfortunate incidents are nipped in the bud to avoid their recurrence, which could be having a devastating consequence on our population. Now, when you watch the tape and the action of the group and their utterances, if you heard them, they were chanting and stating that they were not familiar with the officer, and that during the course of the struggle to bring the New Patriotic Party government to power, they did not cite the officer they were actually pursuing. But what they also forgot was the fact that His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, who has the mandate to put these people in place to ensure that there's smooth governance in this country, know each and every person's role as far as the elections were concerned,
right,
and could not have put a wrong person at that particular place. That's quite unfortunate, and we all ought to join hands to condemn whatever is condemnable. There's no doubt about that. Of course, clearly, there cannot be an official sanction to such a thing. How could His Excellency the President sanction people to go against himself? So you realize that this is just a group of people.
Were they promised? Was their leader promised? Because they feel that their leader was entitled to that office.
But clearly from the presentations that they made, the utterances and etc., there was no indication whatsoever that there was any promise. And in any case, even if you are promised a particular position, Samson, and then at the end, His Excellency the President, in the course of his mathematics, comes to the conclusion that, yes, I did promise you, but I think that at this particular moment, I need another person to serve in that capacity. I mean, what's wrong with that? You know, I can tell you, my brother is with me in Parliament, a very good friend of mine in Parliament and all that. I know there are actually, I mean, a number of us have been appointed into government, but there are equally others who had expectations. But they haven't gone amok.
Or equally qualified.
I mean, equally qualified, okay. And they haven't gone amok and taken the law into their own hands to wreak havoc on innocent population and all that. So what I can say is that we ought to exercise the greatest circumspection in matters like this. Because if we don't, and then it festers into monstrous proportions, then we may be spending certain things to be able to reverse it.
Right.
But I'm having the greatest confidence that everything is under control. His Excellency the President has given directives to that effect, that all such persons who take the law into their own hands should be arrested and put through the processes of
blood
law.
Was spilled.
And at the end
blood was spilled at
yes.
this occasion.
Yes.
The police say that the blood that we saw was not from Mr. J, the one that they attacked, but rather one of the attackers who was injured during their, he called it, illegal operation.
Yes.
This is police PR, ASP Yao Nketia. Now, we saw the police, and you see them in this video, rather escorting these guys out of the place. Is that what you expect of the police?
Well, you see, Samson, what I can tell you is that in situations like that, if you don't manage it well immediately, and you apply certain amount of force, it could result in consequences that will be devastating. And I believe that what they did was a precautionary measure to ensure that they calm down nerves and tempers so that they can identify the perpetrators and maybe let them face the rigors of the law. Because, you know, if the police had reacted immediately, there could have been a counter-reaction from the other side, and the consequences maybe this morning would have been costly for all of us. So maybe what they did was to play it intelligent.
I see.
By ensuring that, look, let's calm down nerves, and then after that, the tape is there. The people can be identified, and the law will take its course. But I think that the measures they take
you would really hope that the police will use this tape, and the police will have the muscle to go after these guys, arrest them, and allow the law to deal with them. Do you trust that this will ever happen?
What a question. It's $1 million question. But honestly, it's happened before. The issue is the end result. Because I've been going through records and I realized that, look, there is this gentleman, and this was a gentleman who was called, his nickname was Red.
Yes.
But his real name, I think, was Bashiru Mohammed. This is a GNA report dated 3rd July 2010. You remember there was an incident. It is presenting the facts of the case. I'm reading the report. Senior State Attorney Salia Abdul Quadus said accused in 2003 fired a firearm at the police station during the voters registration exercise and bolted away in his car. Now, this accused was later arrested and put before a Tamale Circuit Court, but was granted bail. You realize that nothing really happened relative to the offense that he's been charged here. But in 2010, he had gone to South Africa, I think, to watch the World Cup or so. When he returned, he was arrested by the BNI and sent to court again. I have to be honest and suggest that I haven't done double checking. What was the status? He went to court 2010, 7 years after the offense had been committed. This time under a different administration.
Right.
What happened? At the end of the day, there are other examples, you know. So I've been asking myself, as for evidence of arrest and prosecution of party fanatics, as I'll put them, or allied groups, there have been arrests. There have even been prosecution. There have been many cases too where nobody touched them. They went scot-free. But what was the outcome eventually in terms of prosecution? And here, I'm not looking at the color of which administration, party, who was in charge. I'm looking at whether the law was applied, whether the law enforcement agencies did justice to the issue. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
And whether the courts ended up performing the judicial responsibility required of them.
What do you say about what you have seen?
On the screen?
Yes.
It's a disaster, unmitigated disaster. Ought not to be countenanced one bit. And I think we've discussed this matter over and over again here. Thankfully, this video evidence will point to faces. I'm not so worried. The police not doing immediate arrest could have been tactful and tactical. So there's no fatal injury to the issue. These people are alive. I'm even reading graphic when I was on my way coming. There's a certain Mr. Fusu who is supposed to be a spokesperson for them. Right. He must be arrested as well. He might not have taken part physically in the process, but he presents himself as a spokesperson, so he could help.
Right.
For the police to identify the culprits who belong apparently to his association or organization. So for me, there's no fatal injury at this stage. But is it not too many? I mean, is it not? Is it not frustrating? Is it not cutting a picture of ridicule of this great country? Aren't we looking like a banana republic? Is that not what we are looking at? The president has spoken. The Minister of Interior has gone to Parliament. He's giving some answers. I didn't want to go into the Nanka boosting because I want to remain focused. But even that is part of the disaster we discussed some time ago. And yet these things are happening.
Apparently they can't find him.
Who?
And a bench warrant has been issued for the guy in case of the Nanka Bruce issue.
So there are actions.
And the opposition thinks that is really very funny, ridiculous. No, because the guy is identifiable. They could get him and deal with him. Rather than go to court and come and lie to the whole world by putting something in the Daily Guide that there's a warrant for him.
No, is there a warrant?
Yes, there is.
You have seen
that has been published.
Yes, so it means some action is being taken. As to whether they are pretending or not is not a problem. I mean, let's proceed step by step all the time. Is there a warrant? There is. Who issued a warrant? The appropriate authority.
That is so.
Yes, so the gentleman, quote unquote, is on the run, isn't it? They should look for him. Search, locate, and apprehend. Absolutely. That's my view.
Absolutely.
Issuance of warrant is part of the processes. You know it.
Right.
So we can decide to be cynical or skeptical and say that it's all a pretense. No problem. it doesn't take away the responsibility of searching, locating, and apprehending the gentleman. Okay. I'll tell you that something that happened. We discussed this gentleman here some time ago. He subsequently came to me.
Okay.
2 or 3 days after Newsfile on this program. Apparently, he said he wanted to call in.
Okay.
He wanted to be put on the air to say that he wasn't in hiding, as I had said. So I was more or less misrepresented. Okay. Even though what I was told by my CID sources was that they were looking for him and they couldn't find him. And obviously, because he was a policeman, he's known. He has his own matters with the police, which was actually a victim of some vendetta in the police.
Okay.
Unlawfully dismissed. His counsel is Dazi and Associates.
Okay.
And they have a whole paper on it that shows that he was a victim. So he's somebody who I think is going out with a certain grievance. Then, of course, he became a victim too of some incident at a Flagstaff house. He went seeking revenge. That's not law, of course, so whether he likes it or not. But this gentleman is around. He took a picture with me. I was sitting at a coffee shop when he appeared. I nearly said, oh, I'm not interested, I don't have an appointment with you. Then he mentioned the name. I said, hold on, come and sit down. So I had about 30, 40 minutes with him. He has a case, and I advised him that go to your lawyer, take the CID is looking for you. So go with your lawyer to the CID and report yourself.
Right.
And say so, and then let the processes take place.
That's
Apparently that didn't happen, because if a warrant has been issued, that means that he didn't go.
Right.
But to come back to the Kumasi incident, look, within the next 24, 48 hours, I plead with the Ashanti Regional Police Command. They must effect some arrest, and they must let the law work. Otherwise, I make an appeal to the president. He should quickly reshuffle the Ashanti Regional Police Command.
Wow.
Including the head.
Okay, interesting. Let's hear what Belinda has to say about this.
Honestly, I think this is like, it's become too much, it's become too often, and every time we keep saying the same thing, the politicians say the same thing, the NPP would say the same, the NDC would say the same, they are all equally guilty. And it's becoming too much. Eventually, it's like a monster, we don't know how to deal with it, so we are just being, trying to be a bit gentle on them, because I don't see why the police cannot effect arrest if such incidents occur. And it's like they are just playing with them because maybe there are political forces that would, come to their aid. And most often, what happens is that these people go scot-free, nothing is done to them, and it's sad. Honestly, it's a sad thing, and it appears we are saddled with it. We don't know what we are actually going to do with it, because the politicians are massaging the situation anytime it comes up, because if they work for the politicians.
Like the Honorable Okujeto mentioned, may we not be nurturing a monster that we cannot handle sometime later? Even the politicians who go to their defense, shouldn't they be thinking about what this sort of groups are likely to turn into in future and how they may deal with them? We hear, we hear stories that they get promised that, look, when we come to power, we'll fix you in the security forces, right? We'll put you in the police, we'll put you in the army. Now, when these people actually get into these, institutions, are we even safe?
So then the point comes up again that these groups are serving the political party. So when they come to power, they expect some compensation. They expect that, they'll give them a piece of the cake. So then how can these political parties that they were serving, then turn around to try to punish them, to be harsh to them? So there's the lack of a political will to deal with them. So, like, how do we deal with this group? Because they serve us when we need them. So now we are in power, they are acting violently.
The police may be scared that if they touch them, they themselves, their jobs will be in jeopardy. But what do you expect of them to do? Kweku Bakon has, he says within 24 hours, the next 24 hours, he expects that some arrests should be made. And if nothing happens, the president should step in and reshuffle the police in the region, including the commander. What do you say? What should happen?
I think that's really fair. And I honestly think that the authorities should allow the police to do their work. That's what I would say. Because, like, you know, there's too much at the background, invisible voices, in a way controlling the work of the police. So it's difficult for them to do their work effectively.
From invisible forces to
invisible voices. So maybe they should allow the police
wants to make a quick point, then we can move on.
The point about the inertia, apparent inertia or neutralization of the police, yes, we'll discuss that here again. But we are insisting that there should be a core element of professionals who should rise above the thing, especially when President has spoken about 2-3 times. Test it, okay? I recall this incident. If you recall, 2010, there was an incident at a residency at Wa. Some activists went and burned down tender documents. And Kwame Sefakai called the police officer, I think the regional commander or something then, and I asked him what action. He said, oh, but this is political. And he said this openly, boldly, on air. No?
Incredible.
So yes, there's that element, and so sometimes maybe we ought to be a bit charitable with the police and the security services. It's the political that is key. But there's something that you are a lawyer. It's been beating me, my mind, and I've been reading. But because
there are 3 lawyers here, and there's an incoming lawyer, right? Oh, you are done? You're not done yet. Okay.
Well, then I'm in good company, so I will get the education I need. Regional coordinator. What is it?
Regional security coordinator.
Regional security coordinator.
Yeah, I don't see it here. Who appointed?
At the RecSec. At the RecSec, the understanding is that since
92 we've had that in all the regions.
Where is the legal regime? See, the membership of the Regional Security Council is as follows. The regional minister, who is the chairman, the deputy regional minister or ministers, the chief executive of the metropolitan, municipal or district assembly in the regional capital, an officer of the armed forces nominated by the chief of defense staff, the regional police commander, the regional crime officer, the regional officer of the internal intelligence agency specified in part 3 of this act, the customs, excise and preventive service officer in charge of the region, if any, the prison service officer in charge of the region, the immigration officer in charge of the region, the fire officer in charge of the region, and 2 other persons nominated by the minister, regional minister consultation. So is it the last one?
The Honorable Deputy Minister designate has an answer for you directly.
Yes, please.
Have you checked the intelligence agency?
Yes,
you've checked that one.
The internal and external intelligence agencies.
Yes.
Yes. There's nothing there.
You see, but the designation,
unless you are choosing 20, which is serves a gray area. That one says they shall be appointed to assist the coordinator in the performance of his functions, such employees as the appointing authority considers necessary. The employees shall be appointed by the president in accordance with the advice of the council.
Absolutely. So even this one fits into it.
No, if it fits in, let's find out. This gentleman, has he had the Public Service Commission consultation, all those things?
Okay.
Has it happened? Well, so that we know we can fit in.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, sometimes we have to be careful.
So, and you remember he's a rep of the National Security Coordinator.
Okay.
You know,
is he an intelligence professional?
So we need to look at the National Security Council Act.
Okay.
Because that's what I'm reading.
Yeah, that's what he's looking at.
Because you notice that this has been a practice which has been with us since the Fourth Republic's inception.
So this was supposed to be a preliminary issue. Of course, this is a developing story that just happened yesterday.
I'm surprised you made it preliminary.
Yes. So you can't help it, but this is what it is. Now, if I could get just a minute or 2 each from you about what struck London, Westminster. We were told that five died after the major terror attack. 28 were injured. You heard about the car that struck a crowd on Westminster Bridge before continuing to Parliament. Police officer got fatally stabbed after preventing the attacker from entering Parliament. The attacker then shot dead by officers arriving at the scene. You had Theresa May, the PM, who was bundled into a car by police, and Parliament put into a lockdown. We are told that ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack. The attacker was British-born man who had been probed by the MI5 over violent extremism. The incident occurred on 1-year anniversary of Brussels attack. Extra police have been deployed to the streets of London. Army are on standby, and the Prime Minister said this was a sick and depraved attack. Our own president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has condemned it, just as Barack Obama and other world leaders. If I can get just a minute or two each from all of you. Kweku, start with you.
Well, this is lunacy, absolute lunacy. None of us is safe. No country is safe. You know, the reach of terrorism now is said that we have families there, we have friends there. Any of us could have been visiting and would have been victims. So difficult. But I think people should show, any country that is hate or any people who are hate should show that they are not afraid.
Okay.
It's key. The very moment you show any sign of cowardice or retreat or surrender, they win. This thing is more or less a psychological war of terror. Apart from the fact that they use weapons of mass destruction, they kill indiscriminately. But honestly, what else can we say? Let's wish those whose families, those who died, especially the policeman. Apparently, he was shot by an undercover or plainclothes police person who was on duty.
Okay.
You know? So, to be honest with you, it's crazy.
Right.
You know, what else can man say? It's happening all the time.
Belinda, the president, Akufo-Addo, says that this attack imposes on all governments and citizens in the world the task of combating this scourge. That's how he calls it.
Yes. This is interesting because it appears we don't know how to deal with this terror. This terror issue has been up for like about some years now. It happens in Germany, in France. Nigeria is like the battle with it almost every day. Kenya, all over the world. And it's like every time it happens and then we come around and we are trying to see how to deal with it. And it's a difficulty, it's sad. We don't seem, it's like we are reactive. So when it happens, we now come up with, you know, ways to see how to deal with it. But how to combat it has been a challenge. How do we prevent innocent lives from being, you know, killed every day? So it's really unsafe to travel now, wherever you go in the world, even next door, Nigeria. We are all not safe. So
you have done a bit of travel, you know, out. Does it scare you when you are getting on a plane? Does it occur to you that you should be afraid or scared because of some of these things?
Yeah, it's honestly scary. It's honestly scary. But as Kweku Baku would say, we have to live beyond that fear and to be able to go about our daily lives. Whatever happens, we need to move on with our normal lives, and we shouldn't allow it to, you know, affect these things.
Honorable.
Samson, what I can say is just an addition to what Uncle Kweku Baku said. You see,
you should tie it in, and I'm interested in that, tie it in with what our president is saying.
Yes.
Because what our president is saying is that this means all of us, all governments all over the world must be alert.
Absolutely.
Are we alert?
You see, Samson, first of all, the level of sophistication of these terrorist groups is what is beating my imagination. They are sophisticated. You know, they take a step, and then when you take notice of that step they've taken, they get another step beyond you. They are always a step ahead of people. You see, look at the September 11th thing. Just in your wildest imagination that planes to be hijacked and crashed into buildings. How could anybody have anticipated this? Again, if you look at even this particular incident, on the bridge, understand somebody drove a car into a number of people and killed them. Now, if you say that you're going to check a vehicle
that he was heading for Parliament
Absolutely.
House.
Somebody is driving a vehicle. Maybe you search the vehicle, there is nothing. No weapon, no grenade, nothing in it. Then he has in his mind, I'm going to go and see some people standing by the roadside and I drive into them and kill them. How will you ever read this? There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. Not even the devil knows the intent of man, the mind of man. So it's very clear that they are highly sophisticated. And so we have to also begin to think about ways and means of handling this. And that is why I think also that we may begin to put in place measures that will not allow for their being festered into the system in the first place. Maybe we tackle the very roots and foundation of whatever they are doing. Because they're simply monstrous. And they care very little for the lives of people. You know, you just drive a car in there and you are heading for another direction to go and cause mayhem and destruction. And this brings me to a documentary I read some time ago on the net, that some of these people, they recruit even public sector workers. Samson, in your office, you have a staff who says he's going on leave. And for 1 month, he comes back to the office. He's one of them. You never know. One day he detonates something. You will never ever suspect him. So it is the level of sophistication which I think our security will have to, find ways and means of dealing with it, to be a mile ahead of them to be able to overcome. Otherwise, we are all at risk. Every moment of our lives, we live in perpetual fear. And His Excellency the President has said it all. We need coordination of all nations to fight terror attacks. Otherwise, no individual nation can ever succeed. Look, can you imagine that it happened in no less a place than London? Samson, with the level of sophistication. If it were in a country like a West African nation, or the developing nation, you could imagine the level of destruction that they would have caused. So that's just my worry. And we need to act, and act now.
Right. Let's hear the Honorable Samuel Kudjatu quickly.
Yeah, Samson, I just wanted to conclude on the first topic that
we're actually done.
Just a second.
Terror in London, where 6 people have been confirmed dead now.
Just a quick one. An appeal, a special appeal, a very humble appeal to His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to disband all those groups in the NPP is important. An immediate disbandment of those
the police
groups.
Administration during your
even before investigations
during your
are
government
done,
had come out to very clearly and said it was going to disband all these groups. Name them. So where did we go?
An effort was made to disband those groups, but now he is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
We should measure results, not efforts.
So that is why the President should go beyond.
What should he do? You say he should disband them. What should he do?
Declare those groups closed. Everybody should get a job. Stop calling yourselves invisible forces, Delta forces. We have no place for you in our democracy. Azoka boys.
Thank you.
Whoever they are. Yes, those groups should be disbanded. It's important. I think that's the most urgent and important appeal that must go.
New parliamentarians have already taken advantage of that to say that we should give you security. Well, you deserve security, but that's the situation. Is that what it should be? Security for parliamentarians?
London attacks condemnable. An unspeakable horror. You can't justify this. We must all be on the alert now. And this is not an attack on only Londoners or the British. We do know that at least 12 countries have been affected. If you look at the over 40 injured and hospitalized, they are from 12 different countries. And you know that Westminster Bridge is a very popular tourist site. And the tourists always choose their locations to effect maximum damage and make sure that they caught world attention and make sure that every country is affected. And I think that it's good that our president has led the nation to condemn the attacks and to show solidarity with the British government and people and the people of this world, the Committee of Nations. The former president too has done same. I must say that it is important that as we discuss this matter, we also consider the need to increase security in Ghana, to improve on our counter-terrorism measures. The discussion about increased security in Parliament, look at what happened in Westminster. No member of Parliament of the House of Commons was affected. Unfortunately, it was other people, a mother, an American tourist, PC, Kate Palmer, the police officer, Aisha Fred, Spanish teacher, and all the ordinary people who were affected. And you do know that the Ghanaian Parliament, many students come there on excursions, journalists are there, tourists, and the discussion about enhanced security should not be about only the precinct of Parliament. It should be about our country, our borders. And most importantly, if you look at the new methods that these terrorists are using, they are using the internet. They are using new technology. So cyberspace has to be watched. And then when you have a situation in Ghana now where the youth incident of suicide is on the increase, people want to kill themselves. It's just a matter of time, a little radicalization, then they will want to also go down with others.
Okay.
I want to kill myself, but I don't want to die alone. I want to die with others. And it's easy to be radicalized and be recruited by ISIS that has taken responsibility for the London attack. So it's important that all of us be on the lookout to make sure that we are concerned about what our children are doing in cyberspace, how social media is being used. And then social media owners, you know, the owners of Twitter, of Facebook, of WhatsApp, because it's emerged now that 2 minutes before the attacks, he was on WhatsApp. Right. The British authorities are yet to tell us who he was communicating with. Was it just a lone action and all that?
Sophisticated intelligence system also.
Very.
That often the people who get involved, later we get to know that they have been profiled.
Yes.
One way or the other.
Exactly.
This
guy.
Yes,
because this guy
but I doubt here whether we're able to do any such thing even before.
He had been on their watch list.
Any such thing
he had been on their watch list for 20 years. In 2000, he was convicted. In 1983, that was his first conviction for criminal damage. 2003, he was convicted again for stabbing a man in the face.
So we will take a break here, and then when we return, we would look at the issue of our preference for gold that destroys our waters. And we are told that in the next decade or so, 2 decades, we are very likely to have a very difficult situation here in Ghana. You can't find water to drink. Can you imagine that? And water is supposed to be life. We'll take a quick break here. We're right back. This is Newsfile.